Hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of A Peake Behind the Curtain. This is a re-recording of a YouTube video I posted yesterday, but I unfortunately had the incorrect poster on there. So I've now amended this, and I'm also going to update it in terms of the actual date I'm recording this as well. The reason I'm doing this is that there was a series of unfortunate circumstances that took place with regards to the release of my latest book, Near-Death Experiences, the Science, Psychology, Anthropology Behind the Phenomenon, which unfortunately for the UK paperback edition has been delayed. The reasoning for this is rather unfortunate in that the distribution centre for my publisher Arcturus went out of business, and there was a difficulty, or Arcturus had difficulty in finding many of their books in the distribution centre, which were then transferred to the new distribution centre. And sadly, one of the major books they lost in that time was the UK edition of my new book. Fortunately, they have now been found, much to my delight, and I'm now in the position that I can take delivery of some advance copies of the UK edition of the book. By advance copies, I mean that the book is already out in the United States and has been since the 5th of November. It is also out in the United States and in the UK and Europe and in Canada, also in Audible and in Kindle. So people have been able to order and get hold of advanced copies of the book, or copies of the book anyway. But for the UK and Europe, there's been a delay solely with the paperback copy. Now, what this means in effect is that the paperback copy will now be launched and distributed to bookshops and online retailers on the 25th of March. The 25th of March in the UK and Europe. So this means that you can order the book in bookshops, you can download the book off places like Amazon and all the online retailers as well. So the book will be available. But the reason that I'm quite excited is that I've negotiated with Arcturus, and they've agreed to give me a number of advanced UK edition, UK ISBN numbered copies, which I can then sell off my website from today, which is effectively the 7th of February 2025. And from 10 o'clock on that date, you'll be able to order copies of the book for mailing to your home. Now, to make these more interesting, or to increase demand for these copies will be identical to the ones in the bookshops, but there will be some things that you will only be able to get by ordering off the website. And this includes an embossed cover on the inside, one of the inside pages, which will be unique to the books that have sold off the website, where I will put a dedication and I will sign it. So a dedication, so if you want it dedicated to yourself, you want any comments put in there at all, I'm quite happy to put those comments in there and then sign them. Now, on top of that, what I will also do is I will also put the time and date that the PayPal order was received from you on the website. So this means effectively that you will have your own unique signature on there showing when you ordered the book as well, because I think this is quite important to make it unique for you. And also, as well as that, all orders of the book that are ordered off my website until they run out will be a special bookmark, which is a commemorative bookmark, which will not be available anywhere else except on my website. Now, initially I've got an order of 100 of these. Now, clearly, if demand is greater, I will order more if need be. But effectively, these are only unique to the ones coming off my website. Now, in terms of anybody outside of the UK and Europe, by all means, you can order the books off my website as well. But be very aware of a general looming problem here is that postage costs, particularly transatlantic postage costs and long distance international postage costs, are now really, really high, and they go by weight. So although I've managed to keep the book to a particular size, it does mean that if you order the book from the UK, which I then post out, the postage will cost you nearly as much as the book. Now, for some of you, this may not matter because you're keen to have a signed copy, and I'm so honoured and delighted if you do want that, but please be aware of that, and that is completely out of my control. I'm selling the books in exactly the same price that you would pay in bookshops, and also this is the price that's on the book itself as well, so I'm not charging anything additional on top of this for you. So it is just the postage costs and the packaging that will be in addition to that. So if you want to do that, please go online to my website, and my website is www.anthonypeake.com/book-shop, and that is where you will find the bookshop. And we're hoping that in literally from when I'm doing this broadcast, in around about 20 minutes time, it will be up and available for you to go online and buy the book. Let's just hope that there's no glitches, and if there are, we'll work on those. Now, just also one or two other bits of information that might be important to you is that on the 17th of April 2025, I will be doing, I think it's the 5th book launch I've done at the beautiful Watkins Bookshop in London. Very, very famous bookshop, an occult bookshop and everything else as well. And they really give me a wonderful evening there. So what will happen on that evening from 5:30 onwards, I'll be giving a short talk on the book. This will be just off the top of my head and literally just describing and discussing the aspects of the book, and I'll probably focus in on one or two areas of the book. But on top of that, then afterwards, there is then a formal book signing, where I sit down and you can queue up and you buy the copies of the book from the bookshop and I sign them. So if you want to avoid the postage costs and you still want a signed copy, this is a way of getting hold of copies. Now, I will, in addition, in that bookshop, sign additional copies. If we don't sell out in that evening, I will sign additional copies, which will also be available for anybody who wants to go into Watkins Bookshop in Cecil Court near Leicester Square Tube Station, literally around the corner from there, and you can buy the books from there. So all in all, it's building up now quite well in terms of this. Now, again, if anybody is in the United States or Canada or anywhere, in fact, in North America, is that this year from the 30th of May to the 2nd of June, I will be a returning speaker at the Contact in the Desert event. As many of you know, this will be the 4th year on the trot I've done this event, and the 3rd year on the trot I've attended the event in Indian Wells in Southern California. This is a full weekend event, and it is extraordinary. You get literally thousands of people turn up for this event, and all the major researchers initially in the UFO phenomenon and abduction phenomenon will be there, but the organisers and the owners are now broadening out themes, so there will be a lot more non-standard UFO related speakers there. I mean, for instance, I'm delighted to see that Diane Hennessy Powell will be speaking there. Now, many of you will know that Diane has been a previous guest on my Consciousness Hour show, the last one where Sarah James and myself interviewed her on her amazing work with telepathy in autistic children. Now, again, on this channel, on this YouTube channel, if you do a search, you'll find the interviews I do with Diana. And she is an amazing lady, and she will be speaking this year also at Contact in the Desert, together with other individuals that are world famous, such as Whitley Strieber, for example. So try and get along to that. Now, I will be doing at that event, I'm contracted to do a lecture, a workshop, and an intensive, which is a 3-hour intensive, which happens on the Monday. All of these will involve the new book, Near-Death Experiences, and I will focus in on particular aspects of the book in the lectures and the workshop and the intensive. So try and get along to this. These are going to be quite special. If I can, I will try and bring along copies of the books if I can, if that is possible. I'm also in negotiations at the moment about probably in July, I'll be doing another event on the near-death experience book in Southend, for the paranormal group in Southend. I've spoken there once before last year, and I'll be speaking there again this year, and I'll be posting when that event takes place. I'm also doing at least 2 or 3 interviews a week at the moment for various podcasts around the world, all on the basis of the new book. But also, funnily enough, there's increased interest now in my writings on Philip K. Dick, which is really exciting, so I'm looking forward to that as well. So that's all for now. And just to pre-announce that the next Anthony Peake Consciousness Hour will involve... No, I'll probably try and do it now, actually, because one of the major areas of the book, and something that is really, really popular at the moment, because it's appeared in the UK press and I've seen it in the international press, is the mass media seem to have got hold of a new, they're claiming a new piece of research, or not actually research, it's something that happened quite by chance in Germany in 2022, when an elderly gentleman, 87 years of age, had injured himself and tragically died while his brain was being scanned after his accident. So for the first time, there has been evidence of what happens to the brain at death and immediately after death. And this is extraordinary. Now, in my book, Near-Death Experiences, I feature this. So this is of importance because I think I'm probably the first writer that has placed this, the result of this extraordinary chance experience here. Now, this can be heard as well as can be read and on my Kindle and on the Kindle versions. Also on the Audible version of the book, I also read this. And what I'm going to do now is just record for you the section of the book where I discuss this particular case, to show that, I'm fairly ahead of the ball here. I mean, the press and the TV stations, everything, getting very excited about this, but I've already written about it. So without further ado, what I will try and do now is I will try and set up the recording of it, and hope that it sounds okay. So let's give it a go and just see what happens. Just bear with me a second. I will just set up to do this. Okay, here we go. Well, we don't seem to be able to do that at the moment. So what I will do is I will sort something out for this at some other time, and I'll probably just read it straightforwardly. In fact, what I might do is just read it now myself anyway. So just bear with me a second. I'll see if I can find the page. And I will read it. Okay, so I turn around and I say, in relation to these findings, further support was supplied in February 2022 when a paper appeared in the peer-reviewed academic journal Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience. Under the reasonably innocuous title of Enhanced Interplay of Neuronal Coherence and Coupling in the Dying Human Brain, the article described what may be one of the most astonishing discoveries about what happens in the dying human brain in the history of science. What was also of interest was the geographic scope of the authors, who were located in China, Estonia, Canada, and the USA, and were describing an event that took place in Germany involving an 87-year-old Canadian male who was being treated in a hospital emergency unit after a fall in which he sustained a head injury. After a series of tests, it was concluded that his Glasgow Coma Scale, GCS, was 15. The GCS is the most common scoring system used to describe the level of consciousness in a person following a traumatic brain injury. It is used to help gauge the severity of an acute brain injury. 15 is considered to be very minor. However, he rapidly deteriorated to a score of 10, which concerned the attending physicians. Although his gag reflexes and corneal reaction were preserved, one of his pupils was much larger than the other, an effect known as anischoria. Under a CT scan, it was discovered that he had several bilateral acute subdural hematomas, areas of bleeding in the outermost layer of the brain, between the inner surface of the skull and the surface of the brain. He was operated on to clear the blood and was stable for 2 days before he declined again. An EEG scan was obtained which showed that his left hemisphere had gone into a state known as stasis epilepticus, in which a series of epileptic seizures take place one after the other. In this case, at least 12 were recorded. His breathing then became very laboured. It was agreed with the family that a DNR, do not resuscitate status, be applied, and soon afterwards the patient died. During this time, his brain continued to be monitored using the EEG, and what they discovered was astonishing, as was reflected in the introduction to the paper, and I quote, "Here we report what is to our knowledge the first continuous EEG recording from the human brain in the transition phase to death. We find decreased theta activity and an increase of absolute gamma power after bilateral suppression of neuronal activity. Post-cardiac arrest, relative gamma band power is increased while delta, beta and alpha bands show reduced activity. Finally, we observe strong modulation of narrow and broadband gamma activity by the alpha band." Unquote. This is of significance. There was a decreased theta activity and an increase in absolute gamma power as cardiac arrest started. In layperson's terms, that is the point of death. Post-cardiac arrest means after the person has died. Right, the paper, by the way, so that is the thing I pointed out. Now, the paper, if anybody is interested, again, is called The Enhanced Interplay of Neuronal Coherence and Coupling in the Dying Human Brain. And it's written by a guy called Vicenti et al. And it was published in the Frontiers of Aging Neuroscience on the 22nd of February 2022. Now, again, this is extraordinary. This effectively proves that my hypothesis regarding the near-death experience and the panoramic life review is being scientifically proven. And in the book I discuss earlier experiments done by a lady called Jimo Borjigin. And effectively this again proves the evidence that Jimo Borjigin has found in the laboratory with regard to dying rats. This is how powerful this model is. And this is how powerful my cheating the ferryman model is. There are no other theories about life after death that I am aware of that is supported by science, except one, cheating the ferryman. Please order the book if you feel inclined. Read it, give me feedback on it, because I'm very keen to know what you guys think about it. So thanks again for listening in, and we'll speak again soon. Okay, bye-bye.